must be clear that there is a fundamental difference between weather and climate. Weather is the state of the atmosphere at a given time in a given place in terms of temperature, pressure, humidity, winds, clouds, precipitation, visibility, pollution. Climate is the tendency, that is the behavior, of the atmosphere over a given time, at least 20-30 years, at a specific spatial scale, either local or regional. It consists of mean values, extreme values, and even standard deviation of temperature, pressure, humidity, winds, clouds, precipitation, visibility, pollution. Indeed, there are also some phenomena of different kinds which are called climatic anomalies. At a global scale, El Niño and La Niña are defined as sustained sea surface temperature anomalies of magnitude greater than plus 0.5 centigrades, El Niño, or minus 0.5 centigrades, La Niña, across the central tropical Pacific Ocean. Historically, they have occurred at irregular intervals of 2-7 years and they usually lasted 1 or 2 years. The causes of such phenomena are still not clear, although their effects are well known in terms of excessive rainfalls and extreme drought in many parts of the world, especially in the southern hemisphere. Furthermore, urban climate, in comparison to the rural climate in the surroundings, is a climatic anomaly, although of a completely different kind. Because of both dramatically increased surface imperviousness and heat generation due to human activities, it is characterized by high pollution, lower solar radiation, increased precipitation despite lower humidity, higher temperatures, heat island effect. In particular, the so-called heat island effect consists in the difference in temperature between an urban area and the less developed rural areas in the surroundings. It is caused by the fact that, in general, urban surfaces absorb heat and hold heat more than rural surfaces do. According to the definition given by the United Nations, climate change refers to long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. These shifts may be natural, such as through variations in the solar cycle. But since the 19th century, human activities have been the main driver of climate change, primarily due to the burning fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas. Burning fossil fuels generates greenhouse gas emissions that act like a blanket wrapped around the Earth, trapping the sun's heat and raising temperatures. Examples of greenhouse gas emissions that are causing climate change include carbon dioxide and methane. These come from using gasoline for driving a car or coal for heating a building, for example. Clearing land and forests can also release carbon dioxide. Landfills for garbage are a major source of methane emissions. Energy, industry, transport, buildings, agriculture, and land use are among the main emitters. As remarked by the United States Environmental Protection Agency, climate change can affect the intensity and frequency of precipitations. Warmer oceans increase the amount of water that evaporates into the air. When more moisture-laden air moves over land or converges into a storm system, it can produce more intense precipitation, that is heavier rain and snowstorms. According to NASA, current climate models indicate that rising temperatures will intensify the Earth's water cycle, increasing evaporation. Increased evaporation will result in more frequent and intense storms, but will also contribute to drying over some land areas. As a result, storm-affected areas are likely to experience increases in precipitation and increase the risk of flooding, while areas located far away from storm tracks are likely to experience less precipitation and increase the risk of drought. As well summarized by many institutions like the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and the UK Meteorological Office, a changing climate impacts crop growth and human health, while many people may need to leave their homes. It places certain species at an increased risk of extinction. The effects of climate change are real, and they are already happening. Some of the impacts from these changes to our climate system include risk to water supplies, conflict and climate migrants, increase of flooding in urban areas, flooding of coastal regions due to the sea level increase, damage to marine ecosystems, fisheries failing, loss of biodiversity, change in seasonality, heat stress, habitable region of pests expands, forest mortality and increase the risk of fires, damage to infrastructure and, last but not least, food insecurity. As remarked by the United Nations, every one of us can help limit global warming and take care of our planet. By making choices that have less harmful effects on the environment, we can be part of the solution and influence change. As stated, for example, by the European Union, policies for adaptation and strategies for mitigation measures have to be formulated on the basis of what are likely to be the potential impacts of climate change on the water cycle. This will have to be regularly fine-tuned and implemented according to changing needs and as more reliable knowledge and data become available. Even more challenging will be the politics of policymaking and implementation, which will require a quantum leap from current policymaking and implementation processes. One can even say that in addition to the development of more reliable models, the politics of climate change and water management remains one of the greatest uncertainties for the future of humankind.